They told me I was invisible, a harmless ghost in the system. I remember the smirk on Eric's face the day he fired me. "You're useless, Miles. Go touch grass." That same night, my phone buzzed once. Just once. A text from a number I buried 5 years ago. Dead canary, ready to sing. You ever sit on years of silence, only to realize silence was your sharpest weapon? I left quietly, but I didn't leave empty-handed. Now he's panicking. And the empire he built on stolen ideas, I'm holding its throat. You'd be surprised what the useless guy knew all along. They called me the wallpaper guy. The one you'd miss only if his empty chair blocked your view. 8 years at Innova, and I knew more about our servers than our own CTO. But to them, I was Miles, the quiet ghost with bad posture and a better relationship with error logs than humans. I used to think that was enough, that if I just kept my head down, didn't ruffle feathers, didn't speak up when they forced my wife out of the company for exposing irregularities, I could keep the little I had left. I was wrong. They took her from me, and when I didn't resist, I suppose they figured I'd swallow anything. Eric Langston didn't always sneer at me. Once, he mentored me. I was the kid who stayed after hours, who solved server collapses at 2 a.m. while he sipped scotch in his glass office. He used to call me the silent backbone. Somewhere along the line, though, I stopped being useful. Or maybe I stopped being controllable. And that made me disposable. It started small. Minor shifts in permissions. A meeting I wasn't invited to. Then last Monday, I caught something. Buried deep in the daily data flow, an unverified tunnel rerouting client logs to an external IP. Not just traffic, sensitive transaction data. Illegal, dangerous. I flagged it, like always, routed it to IT leadership, then walked into our morning scrum ready to raise hell. That's when Eric cut me off in front of 30 people. "Are you really bringing this up here, Miles?" he said, amused. "You're chasing ghosts again. Honestly, I don't know why you're still on payroll." Laughter. Nervous. Shallow. My chest burned. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Eric clapped me on the shoulder. "Do your job. Stay out of things you don't understand." That night, while most people drank or binged Netflix, I pulled down every route log, trace route, packet header I could find. The traffic wasn't just shady. It was surgical. Someone was siphoning money through dummy transactions, layered under thousands of legitimate trades. Sophisticated, intentional, approved. I knew I had to make a move, not out of bravery, out of instinct. I'd been invisible too long. It was time to use that. At 3:12 a.m., I inserted an encrypted USB into my terminal. The interface blinked once, then again. My screen froze, exactly as I programmed it. I whispered, "Execute canary sequence." One by one, the backups transferred, compressed, fragmented, embedded within audio files, renamed as company training modules. It was elegant, undetectable. And when I yanked the USB out, my hands trembled. Where do you hide something that valuable? Somewhere no one looks. By the time the cleaning crew arrived, I had wiped every trace of my access, formatted logs, cleared RAM, and deleted the canary key from the mainframe. I left the USB inside a worn copy of Data Structures for Beginners, a book no one had borrowed in 5 years, buried on the lowest shelf of our company library. The next morning, my login failed. I tried again. Error. I tried accessing internal messages. Blocked. In 2 minutes, I was locked out of everything but the cafeteria Wi-Fi. They were scrubbing me. I walked calmly to my desk, sat down, and sipped my coffee. Eyes darted. No one spoke. When I glanced up, HR was approaching. So was security. Mr. Carter, can you come with us? I nodded, pushed back my chair, and followed. I didn't resist. I didn't have to. I'd already left the building hours ago, in the form of terabytes hidden in digital haystacks. When they fired me, I smiled. Not a wide grin. Just enough to worry them. Eric didn't show up. Of course he didn't. But I caught a glimpse of him through the glass wall of the executive wing. He wasn't smirking anymore. Later that evening, I sat alone in my apartment, blinds down, silence heavy. I pulled out an old photo. Me, my wife, and our daughter, back when things were simpler. My hand shook as I traced the edge of her smile. For the first time in years, I let myself cry. Quiet, messy, unfiltered, like a dam finally cracked open. My inbox chimed, one unread message. From Wife Mirror 47. Subject, they know. Body, don't trust anyone. You've started something you can't walk back. My fingers hovered above the keyboard. Who was this? Could it be her? Was she even alive? As I leaned forward to read again, a faint blue light blinked from my backpack. The USB. Alive. Waiting. Ready. They didn't even print out a termination letter. We're restructuring, the HR rep said flatly. Your role has been made redundant. Eric didn't look at me. He didn't have to. He'd already buried the knife. As security walked me out, the last thing I heard was a whisper behind me. Someone I didn't recognize. You're replaceable. No watch, no box, just my jacket and a plastic access card that didn't beep anymore. Outside, the sun was too bright. August heat pushed against my skin like static. I walked the long path to the parking garage with nothing but echoes for company. Halfway across the lot, I felt it. A rhythm shift. The soft drag of another set of footsteps. Delayed, careful. I glanced at the reflection in a tinted SUV window. A man in a baseball cap, staring at his phone, 20 feet behind. I tightened my grip on the key fob and turned left, toward a different stairwell. My pace never changed, but my pulse did. I reached the stairwell door, pulled it open fast, then slammed it behind me and ran up 3 levels. No footsteps followed. But when I looked down from the 3rd floor, he was still there, still watching. I didn't go home straight away. I took a winding route. 5 stops, 1 bookstore, 2 alley turns, and 30 minutes inside a pharmacy where I bought nothing. Only when I was sure I wasn't being followed did I head back. The apartment smelled like burnt coffee. I'd left the machine on. My daughter's shoes were by the door, her backpack half-zipped, leaking crayons. She rushed up to me when I stepped in. "Daddy," she chirped. "Why are you home early?" I dropped to one knee and held her close, burying my face in her hair. "I got time off," I whispered. "They said I worked too hard." She pulled back. "So you're not useless?" That word, like a blade across an old scar. "No," I said, "not useless." I waited until she fell asleep. Her tiny hand clutched my shirt all night. I didn't move. At 3:04 a.m., I crept into the living room, opened my laptop, and typed in an old sequence. The screen went black. Then, green text. Dead Canary Protocol. Ready. 3 years in the making. A self-learning AI I'd built inside a quarantine server, designed to map, track, and predict fraudulent data patterns across multiple infrastructures. Not just Innova, not just our division. Every node it touched, it learned. I had taught it to hide in plain sight, buried inside image files, coded into training software, fed through sandbox simulations. I told it to watch, and it watched. I told it to remember, and it did. Now I was telling it. Sing. I plugged in the USB, entered the master passphrase, and watched the data bloom like a virus, but a righteous one. It cross-referenced illegal transfers, flagged encrypted communications, rebuilt shadow databases that had been wiped years ago. And then, in a corner of the console, a name blinked. Langston Chathar Shadow. I froze. I never created that account. I scanned the source. It was buried so deep it bypassed the canary's standard detection logic. An embedded loop, piggybacking on a legitimate administrator credential. The access level was higher than Eric's. I stared at the screen, then typed trace origin. The reply was immediate. Unauthorized command detected. Countermeasure in effect. The screen flickered. Error messages flooded the log. I ripped the USB out. The room fell into silence again. No alarms, no noise, just the dull hum of my old fridge and the sound of blood pounding in my ears. Was this deeper than Eric? I opened an old email client, one only my wife and I had used. End-to-end encrypted, untraceable, buried in code we built together years ago. 2. Wife mirror 47. Subject, I'm ready. Body, canary sang. There's another player, someone inside, high access. Need confirmation. Was it you? I stared at the send button for 5 minutes before I clicked it. Then I sat back and waited. The ghost had spoken. By sunrise, the headlines were already circulating. Innova Trading System suffers technical glitch. Stock dips 3%. It was a soft headline. Polished. Controlled. But I could hear the panic behind it. The glitch wasn't random. It was Dead Canary's first public note. Rerouting systems, revealing inconsistencies, and quietly breaking minor dependencies to test the waters. Inside Innova, I imagined the chaos. Error logs would flood. Financial reports wouldn't match. Server times wouldn't sync. It wouldn't destroy them yet, but it would make them sweat. And then it happened. An anonymous audio file was uploaded to 3 major finance whistleblower boards and mirrored on encrypted social platforms. A private meeting. 6 voices, clear. Eric Langston's voice, unmistakable, laughed through the speaker. If we move the data through Cayman first, then re-import through subholdings, no audit trail will stick. Trust me. This isn't new. It's just cleaner now. A pause. Someone else asked, and if someone finds it? Eric replied, no one will. And if they do, they won't be around long enough to report it. The file ended, not with static, but with silence. Cold, calculated. I didn't release that file. I replayed it 5 times. Analyzing background noise, metadata, embedded file signatures. Someone else was playing this game. I needed to step back, ground myself. I drove out to see my mother, 82, still living in the house I grew up in, still boiling water the old way, still remembering everything. We sat on the porch. Cicadas hummed around us. She poured me coffee. You're not sleeping, she said. No question, just observation. Not much, I answered. She looked into the distance. You remind me of your father, she said finally, always thinking he could fix broken things. He worked 30 years for that bank, believed in the system. Then one day, they erased his name from the door and sent him home with nothing. I looked at her. He never talked about that. She nodded. He was ashamed, and it killed him slowly. You don't have to be a hero, Miles, but don't be a ghost either. I left just after noon. As I reached the car, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. I answered without speaking. A voice modulated through a filter responded, You shouldn't trust wife mirror 47. My chest tightened. Who is this? I'm the one who leaked the audio, they said, and I'm not the only one watching. I paused. Then who the hell are you? I knew your wife, the voice said. She taught me everything. We built something together. Prove it. A pause. Then a file was sent, encrypted, password protected. The passphrase? June 17th, gray hoodie, supply closet. That was a memory no one else could have known. A Tuesday, 5 years ago. The day my wife hid me from internal security after a server breach I was blamed for. A gray hoodie, a storage room, and her holding my hand, whispering, "You don't deserve this." I opened the file. Logs, screenshots, code annotations in her handwriting. The voice returned. She wanted to burn the whole thing down, but someone got to her first. I sat down slowly, heart racing. Are you saying she's dead? No, the voice replied, but she's gone. I felt the weight of those two truths settle over me. The voice continued. Wife Mirror 47 isn't her. It's someone else. A decoy. Someone who lost more than you did. Who? A girl named Layla. Her father was an analyst. Discovered the offshore accounts. 2 days later, he fell from his apartment. No witnesses. And now she's, pretending to be my wife? She's trying to finish what your wife started. I didn't know whether to feel betrayed or relieved, but I did know this. If the canary sang too loud, someone else was amplifying the volume. Later that night, I logged into my backup account, one I hadn't used since the first canary test. It was supposed to be clean, untouched. The login failed, twice. On the third attempt, I got in, but the welcome screen was wrong. The background image, usually a dull gray, was black. And the storage usage, 83%. I'd only ever stored 12%. Someone had been inside. Files were missing. Others renamed. Logs rewritten. Then a message at the bottom of the screen blinked to life. Nice nest. Shame about the leak. By Thursday morning, the internet was on fire. Articles, leaks, forum threads, and podcasts. Everyone had a version of the Innova story. Whistleblower sites couldn't keep up with the traffic. Anonymous tip lines rang nonstop. And through all the noise, one word kept surfacing. Canary. They didn't know it was me. Yet. The data I released wasn't the smoking gun. It was the spark. A curated package, encrypted and authenticated, sent to 5 government agencies across 3 time zones. I'd timed the emails to hit inboxes simultaneously, ensuring no one could stall or bury the investigation. If one agency got cold feet, the others would force their hand. By noon, regulatory offices were making public statements. Internal audits were launched. Shareholders demanded emergency meetings. Journalists camped outside Innova's headquarters. The building, once an ivory tower, now looked like a fortress bracing for war. I didn't smile. I didn't feel triumphant. Just hollow. I took a walk to the old park by my daughter's school. It was quiet, shielded by trees, and the sound of distant laughter. Kids climbed jungle gyms, tossed frisbees, screamed in joy. I sat on a bench, watching the world move on. How many nights had I missed this, sitting late in dark server rooms while my daughter grew up without me noticing, chasing proof, chasing fairness, chasing ghosts. Was I doing this for justice, or just to feel alive again? A ball bounced near my feet. A small boy ran after it, paused, then waved at me shyly. I waved back, forcing a smile. I'd become a ghost outside the office too, and ghosts didn't get second chances. My phone buzzed. A single, encrypted message. He knows. Move. I froze, then ran. I changed SIMs, dumped my phone, and circled the city in back routes before heading to the safe house. It wasn't much, a rented one-room above an old laundromat, but it had no digital footprint, and more importantly, no patterns. I booted up an isolated terminal, checked all tripwires. 2 had triggered. Someone had accessed an old alias I used back in my freelance days. They weren't tracing data. They were tracing me. I opened my private server logs. A new IP had pinged it 3 times in the last hour. Professional, masked, but sloppy enough to leave a fingerprint. The signature matched an old government contractor, Cavalier Consulting. Eric had hired a cleanup team. They didn't go after evidence. They went after people. I started erasing everything. External drives were destroyed, passwords purged. I burned backup scripts and scattered code fragments across ghost domains I'd prepared months ago, but I wasn't working alone. At midnight, a message arrived from the same voice changer protocol as before. They're getting desperate. You're forcing them into the open. I typed quickly. How deep does this go? The reply was instant. Eric isn't the head, just the front. There are others, but we have one shot. I stared at the words. We? That's when they sent the photo, a grainy shot, taken from inside Enova's executive floor. A young man, maybe 21, sweater vest, glasses, nervous posture, standing behind Eric unnoticed. The caption, his son, intern, and your ally. I leaned back. Eric's own blood was helping bring him down. Twist? I'd call it poetic justice, but there was no time to process it. My emergency phone rang, a line only 2 people had. I picked up, my ex-wife's voice, shaking. Miles, where's Clara? I bolted upright. She's with you. You said... She was, I swear. She was right behind me at the store. I turned for 1 second. Don't hang up, I said, already grabbing my bag. I hacked into the local CCTV grid, skimmed through camera footage near the grocery store. Found her. Pink jacket. Backpack. Smiling. Then gone. A black van. No plates. Fast turn. Gone in seconds. This wasn't Eric. He wanted me silenced, not broken. This was someone else. A new player. And now they had my daughter. They returned her 12 hours later. No ransom, no demands, no messages. Just a cab pulling up outside my ex-wife's apartment, and Clara stepping out, clutching a small stuffed panda. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just walked inside and said, I want cereal. It was the silence that gutted me most. The phone call came 15 minutes later. A voice I didn't recognize. Calm. Precise. We just needed your attention, Mr. Carter. Now that we have it, listen carefully. I didn't speak. You're chasing shadows you don't understand. Enova is a symptom, not a cause. If you keep digging, what you'll find won't be what you think it is. They hung up. And just like that, the board shifted. I'd always known Enova had help. Offshore banks, insider protection, corporate loops, too convenient to be coincidence. But now it was clear. They weren't just protected. They were integrated into something far bigger. I returned to my safe house and began searching for links, government contracts, obscure shell entities, consulting firms with paper trails that stopped mid-sentence. Patterns emerged, tendrils of a system designed not to be traced, just obeyed. They weren't hiding from the world. The world was built to ignore them. A day later, the truth began to bleed through from an unexpected place. A package arrived. No return address, no label. Inside, a flash drive and a note written in my wife's handwriting. For when you're ready. My hands trembled as I plugged it in. One video file. Dated 3 years ago. The screen flickered. Then her face appeared. Tired, gaunt, but unbroken. "I don't know if you'll ever see this, Miles," she began. "But if you do, I need you to know the truth." She looked straight into the camera, eyes full of something that wasn't quite guilt, more like surrender. "I worked with them. Not at first. Not willingly. But after I exposed that first batch of forged audits, they gave me a choice. Join or disappear, and I chose wrong." She paused, breathing shallow. "I thought I could navigate it from the inside, feed you pieces, protect you, but they were always 10 steps ahead. And eventually, I had to leave you, because I knew they'd use you to break me." Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I never stopped loving you. I never stopped watching. And I never stopped hoping you'd be the one who could finish what I started." The screen cut to black. I sat there for an hour, not moving, not blinking, not breathing almost. She hadn't betrayed me. She had sacrificed herself. For me, for Clara, for this. And now it was my turn. I activated Canary's final protocol, a kill switch sequence embedded in the deepest layer of the AI's architecture, designed to unlock every hidden node, decrypt every quarantined file, and upload everything in a live stream to a decentralized whistleblower blockchain. Untraceable, immutable, permanent. The cost? Exposure. Once launched, I couldn't hide. I entered the passphrase, "for her," and watched the floodgates open. Thousands of files, hundreds of hours of recordings, names, routes, conversations between politicians and tech execs, deals made in shadows, threats whispered under surveillance-proof umbrellas. It was a detonation. By sunrise, I was on every screen. News outlets debated whether I was a hero or a traitor. Former Eneva insiders came forward. One was arrested, another vanished. But something felt off, too quiet, too fast. That's when I got the next message, from the same whistleblower network I'd trusted. It simply said, "We need to talk." The meeting was virtual, encrypted. I entered the room, and 5 avatars greeted me, all blurred, all familiar. "You did it," one of them said, "but you shouldn't have." Another added, "You disrupted a system that's older than you know." "I exposed criminals," I said flatly. "No," a third replied. "You exposed balance, a system that functions in compromise, and now others will rush to fill the vacuum with far worse intentions." I stared at the screen. "You're not whistleblowers," I whispered. "You're gatekeepers." Silence. Did you ever wonder why it was so easy to trace the files? Why the agencies responded so fast? Twist. They had let me. To clean house, to shift narratives, to burn one layer of rot and sell it as reform, while preserving the root underneath. You used me. "We activated you," the first avatar corrected, "and now it's time you stepped back." The call ended. I logged off, trembling. Then another message arrived. Different channel, different voice. "Don't trust them. You were never their tool. You're still in the game." Attached, a live feed of a server farm in Estonia, a new data vault, a clone of the Eneva structure, already active, and a single line of text. "Want to play again, Miles? The world never knew it was me." When the files dropped, they bore no signature, no timestamp traceable to my identity. The headlines credited an anonymous cyber activist. Some speculated I was a foreign agent. Others said I was a rogue insider. A few claimed I didn't exist at all. I preferred it that way. Eric Langston was arrested 2 days later, stepping off a private jet in Zurich. His hands were cuffed, his face pale. The cameras swarmed like bees, hungry for a sting. He didn't resist. In fact, he smiled. In court, he refused to speak until the final hearing. Then calmly, he looked at the judge, then at every journalist in the room and said, "I'm not the disease, I'm the symptom. You think locking me up fixes anything? Count how many Erics are still out there." And he laughed. A slow, knowing laugh that echoed through the courtroom like a dare. The media ate it up. They called him delusional, dramatic, paranoid. But I knew better. He wasn't bluffing. He was warning us. And he wasn't wrong. I didn't attend the hearing. I didn't watch the coverage. I was busy living a morning I hadn't had in years. The alarm went off at 6:30. I made pancakes, burned the first batch. Clara rolled her eyes. We left the house late, as always. But this time, I didn't care. We walked together to school. I held her hand the whole way. She pointed at dogs, skipped cracks in the sidewalk, made up stories about squirrels in the trees. I listened, laughed, breathed. It was the first time I felt like her father again. Outside the school gate, she turned and hugged me hard. "You're going to pick me up too, right?" "Promise," I said. She squinted at me. "Real promise? Not Miles Carter in his head promise?" "Real one." "Pinky swear." She smiled, ran inside. I stood there for a while, watching her disappear into the crowd of backpacks and ponytails. Then my phone buzzed. An ad, or so I thought at first, a startup I'd never heard of. Flashy logo, clean interface, blockchain security. A safer future starts here. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the logo again. Minimalist, silver on black, a stylized phoenix. It was Enava's old brand. Not the final one they used, but the first, before the rebrand, before they tried to clean their face. I checked the startup's address. Shell company, obscure investors, no team listed, new name, old architecture. The Hydra was growing another head. I knew I couldn't stop them all, but maybe I didn't have to be the only one trying. 2 weeks later, I registered a new foundation, quietly, under a different name. No big announcements, no press. Its mission, to protect whistleblowers, to offer them tools, resources, shelter, and most importantly, dignity. I used every lesson I'd learned, every mistake I'd made, and I made it free. The day we opened the doors, I brought Clara with me. She sat beside me, watching me code. After a few minutes, she asked, "Can I try?" I handed her the keyboard. She typed with the clumsy rhythm of a beginner, but her eyes, focused, sharp. She looked up. "Is it true you helped catch the bad guys?" I hesitated. "Some of them," I said. She nodded. "Did you ever hack the government?" I laughed. "No, why?" She shrugged. "I did once." I froze. "What?" She blinked innocently. "That old laptop at home. I used one of your passwords to guess a pattern. It opened an email thingy. I thought it was fake. But then it started showing these weird symbols. I closed it, I promise." My mouth opened, then closed again. She changed the subject, as kids do. But my brain spiraled. How many breadcrumbs had I left lying around? How much had she absorbed without me noticing? And how much of her was becoming like me? That night, I sat at my desk. The room was dark, save for the glow of the screen. Clara was asleep in the next room. Safe, innocent for now. I opened my old journal, the digital one I hadn't touched in months. I scrolled past 1,000 drafts, half-written rants, diagrams, paranoia. Then I created a new page and typed the final line of my story. I was never useless. I was silent,